Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is William F. Noble, also known as Bill Noble. So, William F. Noble, Bill, is the CEO and founder of West Point Optical Group, LLC, the largest Pearle Vision franchise with 75 locations in Ohio, Michigan, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, Georgia, and Colorado. With over 20 years' experience in healthcare and optical retail operations, Bill is a visionary leader with a diverse cross-functional management background and a successful track record of delivering outstanding results. Bill grew up in Albany, Georgia, where he went to Westover High School, home of the Patriots. Bill's current interests include fitness, sports, and coaching youth sports. He has a personal commitment to his faith, his family, his fitness, and his healthy lifestyle. Bill and his wife, Laura Lee, reside in Mason, Ohio, and have 8 children. Welcome to the podcast, Bill.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so excited to have you. The way we met is a little different than the way I met a lot of my guests. So I was actually working at a Pearle Vision. I still am working at the Pearle Vision, and your company came in and purchased that Pearle Vision from another franchisee, and that is actually how we met. And I'm just so glad that we did. Very excited about all the new systems and things we're going to be doing. So wonderful to meet you that way.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So just so people can get to know you and know who you are, um, tell us a little bit about your story, where you started out, how you got to be doing what you're doing now.
Well, as you read in my bio, I grew up in Albany, Georgia, about three hours south of where you are in Atlanta. Went to high school there and was accepted into the United States Military Academy at West Point. Matriculated there in 1982. Spent 4 years there, played football, did well academically. Upon graduation, obviously all graduates from the service academies incur a 5-year service obligation. And so I branched into Army aviation. I was UH-60 Black Hawk pilot for 6 years. Loved every minute and second of my military service. It's kind of where I think I really learned how to be a leader when you combine the 4 years at West Point with the 6 years of active duty service. It really prepares you how to be a leader in a very diverse environment. As a U.S. Army officer, obviously I don't get to handpick who my staff and my team are, how the military works. So I learned a lot of different ways to, adjust my leadership style to fit my, either my platoon or my company or whatever level I was overseeing. But I loved every second of my military service. From there, I went to Harvard Business School. Graduated in 1995. Didn't quite know what I wanted to do from a career standpoint, but I felt that I needed to kind of sharpen my toolkit, if you will, from a business acumen standpoint. And I went to McKinsey consulting firm. McKinsey is preeminent strategy consulting firm. And I spent 3+ years at McKinsey, just spending a lot of time looking at a lot of different complex business problems, a lot of different industries, and enjoyed it, learned a ton. And then after about 3 years, I got tired of the travel associated with being a consultant and decided that I was going to pursue a passion of mine at that time, which was in the casino business of all things. And so I worked in the casino business at various levels, up to general managers of the Harris Casino in New Orleans, which was my last stop there. I loved every second of the casino business. Man, it's always something happening, so fast paced, but it came at a cost from a lifestyle and perspective of spending so much time in the casino. You can have the best quarter that you're having, best month, and then a high roller come in and wipe you out from that standpoint. And that was just hard to take. With the ups and downs, really subject to what's happening in the true luck of the draw, what happens in some of the games there. So I made a decision to leave the casino business, landed in retail, and have spent the last 15+ years or so in retail. whether it be Walmart, Toys R Us, and more recently in LensCrafters, and obviously in the company I founded 6.5 years ago, West Point Optical Group. So that's kind of my story. I will tell you that I never imagined that I would have started my own company. Even though my parents were both entrepreneurs, I always kind of envisioned myself, having gone to the best schools, taking all the right jobs as a CEO of a large, Fortune 500 company. It didn't quite work out that way. And it's funny how your best laid plans, really it boils down to, your circumstances, being in the right place at the right time, and really understanding and taking advantage of a wonderful opportunity when it's presented to you. And that's how I really made a decision to join LensCrafters and then Pearle Vision to go out on my own and start my own business back in 2014. So, again, on one path, things happen. You find yourself, having to choose another path, course of your life that you didn't necessarily start out, but it's wonderful when things, come together and you find out that ultimately what I'm doing now is really what I was meant to do. I couldn't have told you that 10 years ago, but now that I've been at this for 6 years, I can't imagine doing anything else.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so I have to start out here with family. When I read your bio, 8 children. So you're
Well,
doing all this and you have 8 children to take care of.
Yeah, let me explain that a little bit. I have 5 biological children. And then my second wife, Laura Lee, and I have a son together. And Laura Lee brought 3 kids to the marriage as well. So if you remember that TV show, I'm dating myself here. So 8 is enough with Dick Van Patten. And so we have a blended family, and there are 8 kids. Our oldest, my daughter Jasmine, is 28 years old. And then our youngest, William III, or Trey, as we affectionately refer to him, is 11. So, and we've got every age range between there. If you think about it, there are 3 girls and 5 boys in the 8.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. And so as you're talking about that, I can't remember the name of the movie, but there's a movie where one parent is a military parent and they have like 9 children, and the other woman that they meet, that they were lovers in high school, but then they kind of got their own marriage. She had 10 kids.
Oh my
And they
gosh.
get together, and the military guy is just ship shape, everything's straight, and she's a free to be me hippie type, and they try to come together. So
I
I'm
don't
just
I don't know
curious.
that movie, but 19 kids, I don't think I can handle that. I mean, 8 is enough as it is, pardon the pun, but 19, wow.
Yeah. So how was that when you tried to blend 2 families? How did you make that work?
The age differences are such that my older 4, were I think their age difference between Michaela, who's 20, and Jared is 22. So they were relatively close in age, but Jasmine and Jalen were almost out of the house when we first started, dating, and then subsequently got married. But it takes a lot of compromise, obviously with their ex-wives, ex-husbands in the mix, and so it's a real big family when you think about it, ensuring that the kids realize that they're what's most important. And as with all things, there's trial and error. You grow up doing things one way, and then when you blend the family, there are other traditions or way of doing things that you have to step back and evaluate if that's something that makes sense, or start new traditions. So nobody feels that you're hanging on to what you had in a previous relationship or previous marriage. You're trying to come up with something new that works for the new family and the new unit. And so we've had, it's been a wonderful experience. We've had our ups and we've had our downs, but by and large, we've been together now going on 12 years, and we think it's working quite well. Now, that's my opinion. You have to ask my wife to see what if she thinks that It's working quite well,
Exactly.
but I'm happy. So I mean, I
Mhm,
think that it's working for us. And Laura Lee
mhm,
works in the business right now. She heads up HR for us. So we are literally together all day, whether it's
mhm,
at home or at work. And I guess that's the true test of a marriage. If you can last working together and also, living together personally, I think you got a recipe for success there.
mhm, exactly. So have you two together developed any systems that just help the family run better or smoother? So I have a brother that has 9 children, 3 of his own, and he adopted 6. And
Mhm.
his wife, I mean, she has systems of, how to keep everybody going in the right direction. She homeschools most of them.
Mm.
So, have you developed any systems or any things that really help as far as keeping family life going smoothly?
My wife runs the household. I run, every other aspect of my life. I'm kind of in control. But when it comes to what's going on in the household, that's her domain and her purview. So I kind of
Mhm.
just ask what my orders are, what I need to do, and I just do it
There
from
you
that
go.
standpoint. That works fabulously well for
Mhm.
us from that perspective. And I'm also, as you saw read from my bio, I coach Trey's sports teams, basketball, football, and so that's kind of our thing from that standpoint. And the older kids
Mhm.
are pretty much out of the house. And once they
Mhm.
reach 15, 16, they're very independent from that standpoint. So we've come up with a system that works well for us, and that know who the boss is, and I take my orders and, like a good soldier, salute and execute. And that works fabulously well when you know your place. And
Mhm.
so we don't have a lot of conflict when it comes to those type of things.
Mhm. So I'm just curious, how is it to be the one in control of a helicopter in that situation? Any great stories to share?
I tell this story, and it's really about perspective. I think I was stationed in Fort Lewis in Seattle, Washington. If you ever spend any time in Washington State, you know that it's dominated by Mount Rainier, which kind of you can see Mount Rainier from practically, anywhere around the Seattle Tacoma area from that standpoint. And Western Washington is very lush, green. It rains all the time. And Eastern Washington is, very desert-like. It's, very desolate. And so we would on Fort Lewis is on the western side of right near Tacoma, Washington,
Mhm,
and we had a firing center in Yakima, Washington, which was on the other side of the state.
mhm,
And we used to have to fly a lot of times from Fort Lewis over to the Yakima Firing Center. And the first time I made the trip, I'm here, I am a hotshot second lieutenant, or I think I'm sorry, first lieutenant. I
mhm.
was pilot in command, so UH-60 helicopter, multi-million dollar platform, and I'm feeling I'm this, this hotshot, what doesn't stink kind of guy. And I'm flying over, and we're passing Mount Rainier. And obviously, when you're in the helicopter and you're flying, you're paying attention to your instruments. So you're listening to air traffic control and your co-pilot, and you're just
Mhm,
all these things are going around you. And I remember distinctly, looking out of my left window, and Mount Rainier was here, and literally we were, just flying right next to the mountain. And I looked at my radar altimeter, and it said that we were 9,000 feet up, which is pretty high. But I remember looking over and then looking up, and there was still 4,000 feet of mountain still left there. And you talk about perspective and really a humbling, poignant moment in time where I realized that, man, as much as I think I'm all that, I am really so insignificant in the big scheme of things. And it really gave me some, I think, a sense of, wow, there's
mhm,
something much bigger than anything that I can control here in this life. And it just was one of those moments where it was awe-inspiring, humbling, and it's just I never will forget that moment. There are a lot of other, missions that I flew, but that one kind of pulled all of it together for me, because as a person of faith, I believe in God, and just to imagine that He made, created the world that we're in right now, and that mountain that was there that was 14,000 feet high, and then the ability for someone to come with the technology to build and the helicopter and rotor and all those things. So again, that was probably the one experience that was kind of sticks out from being a pilot, was just that kind of humbling moment. It's been a long time ago when I was stationed at Fort Lewis.
Yes. And just at this point, I want to say thank you very much for your service. And I
My pleasure.
appreciate that. And I appreciate anyone who puts their life out on the line to fight for our country. So
It was
thank you
my
so
my
much.
pleasure. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. And the name of my company is West Point Optical. And I think you and I talked about this. The investors, there are 11 of us that are investors in West Point Optical, and the 90% of them either went to West Point, have close ties to West Point, football teammates, classmates of mine. So West Point and the military service in general is just a big part of who I am and a big part of my life.
Mhm. Which leads me to my next question.
Mhm.
So, how was it being a student at West Point and being on the football team? Obviously, you created some really strong ties with these other people on your team to the point where when you had something big happening, okay, I got something, you just gathered everybody together and say, "Hey, let's do this." So, tell me about that. Tell me about the camaraderie. Tell me how you developed those strong ties.
Well, as a sports guy, I'm going to tell you, and specifically a football guy, I'm going to tell you that football is the best sport that was ever invented from that standpoint. You talk about the physical, mental, emotional toll that that game exacts of you. I just love it so much, and all of my boys play football. Two play collegiately as well, and then Trey is the quarterback of our. He's in the 5th grade now, and he's having a lot of fun and been a lot of success. But I just love the sport, and it was a big part of who I was at the academy. It was to play at that level, Division 1, and have a reasonable amount of success. Was just it taught me so much. And having gone through 2-a-days, being a student athlete at West Point, when you really don't get a break from academics, you have military obligations you have to fulfill, and being around guys that were going through a very similar experience, it allowed me to really get to know those guys very, very well. I mean, these guys knew me when I was 18 years old, had a big afro kind of out to here. And so those lessons and getting to see people at their worst and at their best, you develop a trust and a camaraderie. And the military within itself, your life is dependent upon a lot of decisions that you make. So there's an inherent trust that's
Mhm.
built. You layer in football and these other things, and it was just very easy for me to go to a handful of my teammates, classmates who had achieved a fair amount of financial success, and tell them about this great idea that I had to start a business. And there's a special amount of pressure when you borrow money, or if you get
Mhm.
friends to invest in a business. You feel a sense of obligation,
Mhm.
probably above and beyond that you normally would for an investor, because there's that personal connection. And so those guys knew me well enough to know that I wouldn't come to them unless I felt, passionate about the idea.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a big sale job. These guys were all very successful in their own respect. And I told them that I did my homework, I did my presentations, and showed them the business plan. And I think at the end of the day, they see lots of business plans,
Mhm.
but on top of that, they knew who I was. They knew what made me tick, and they were betting on me more so than any business plan. And the fact that they've known me for 30 plus years, when you have that type of relationship, it transcends, dollars and cents and the numbers. And I think it makes for a great partnership, because there's more than just the professional side of it. There's also the personal side of the relationship.
Mhm. Yeah, because I've heard someone say, if you want to have a friend, don't loan him money. So I can see where it's just like, oh, that'd be a lot of pressure to make sure that you're performing and you're using those funds wisely.
Oh, absolutely. And I still feel that pressure to this day. Even though we've grown from where we were, and now the company is worth upwards of, 100, right around $100 million. And these guys, all of our investors, have done, well for the, capital that was invested in the company. You never outgrow, that sense of obligation, and, just how I'm wired and how I'm built. I wake up each day, knowing that I've got, close to 400 employees that are counting on me, their families, for us to be successful and to continue to make sure we're making great decisions, and also our investors to make sure that every day we're making good, smart business decisions that ensure the long-term viability and sustainability of the organization.
Mhm. And now you started out at Luxottica as far as getting into the optical business. And I'm sure you learned a lot from there, but then there was a point where you decided, okay, I'm going to have my own business. What was that point that made you change?
Well, it was, I again thought that I was going to be a CEO, and there was a opportunity for me to get promoted that I think I, in my own mind, thought that I deserved to be promoted and to get the top job, and I didn't get it. And that was extremely frustrating,
Mhm.
and telling for me. And I remember being just so disappointed and deflated, and wondering, was this all there is? I had done all the right things, gone all the right schools, and to have my fortunes or my career in the hands of someone else,
Mhm.
was a little unsettling, because again, West Point, Harvard MBA, the athlete, all those things, and I had delivered results, and to not get that job because of whatever the reasons were, uh, it pissed me off, and then it depressed me,
Mhm.
and then I said, well, what else is out there? It's how am I going to put myself in a position that that I have the opportunity to truly control my own destiny. And there's
Mhm.
always that myth of what I call corporate security. There's this nice secure job in corporate America, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Mhm. Yes.
We've seen it time and time again with what's happening with all the downturns, cyclicality brought about by COVID.
Mhm.
That is a myth of corporate security, and I was fortunate to have some exposure to the Pearle brand when I was at LensCrafters, and I met the head of development at Pearle, and the general manager of Pearle. And I
Mhm.
knew they were looking to create what they call super franchisees, franchise owners that owned more than one or two locations. And I thought about it and said, man, if I'm ever going to do this, now would be the time. As I mentioned earlier, my parents were both entrepreneurs, so I knew that work ethic and what it meant to be your own boss. And I also knew that, and I kid and say this all the time, that I knew my boss was going to be an asshole, excuse my French, because that's me, right? So I knew I could handle it, right? So I knew who I was going to be working for, and I still, didn't have any hesitation to make the leap. And also, obviously, we talked to it over with the family, and my wife was very supportive, and my kids were supportive as well. And it was very risky. We were getting ready to send kids to college, and it's one of those things that you're really taking that leap of faith, and at the end of the
Mhm.
day, you're betting on yourself. And I
Mhm.
knew I could sleep at night if I failed, and I knew it was my own fault. I knew I could sleep at night,
Mhm.
versus I was having very difficulty sleeping, knowing that my destiny was in the hands of someone else.
Mhm.
And that's a an unsettling feeling for me when, when you don't necessarily have all the answers or the ability to say, I've done everything you asked me to do. I should have gotten promoted, and then not feeling that fulfillment. It was a very eye-opening and humbling experience for me. And that's what led to, there's got to be another way. And, I looked at a lot of different opportunities, but at the end of the day, I had spent 4 years at LensCrafters, learned the business, learned on Luxottica's nickel, as I say. Also, obviously, I created a lot of value for them in my time at LensCrafters, but it was a business that I knew the best from that standpoint. And there was a great opportunity within Pearle, and, be in the right place, right time. And it's 6+ years, and we're feeling very good about that decision now, where we stand.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people, especially now, that were in your place where they expected to get a promotion but didn't, or expected to get a promotion and then they were caught because of all that's happening. And they too are having to jump into something totally brand new.
Right.
So when you have to jump into something totally brand new, where do you get the courage? Do you have any self-talk you said to yourself? How did you work through that?
At the risk of a little hubris, and if you talk to my friends, they would always say that I had a lot of confidence. Some would say arrogance. And maybe at some points in my career, maybe it was a little arrogance, but I think it matured into confidence. And at the end of the day, I'll keep repeating, you're betting on yourself, and you know what you're capable of. They said I couldn't play, D1 college football, at 160 pounds, and I did, and I lettered as a freshman and as a plebe, and so, when people tell you that you can't do something, there's, a percentage of us that accept it or shy away from the challenge, and there are others that rise to that challenge and thrive or seek out those opportunities. And because of what had happened to me, having kind of the rug yanked out from underneath me, it lit in me a fire that I was going to show anybody and everybody who was watching that that I was going to be ultimately successful. I didn't know what success looked like. I mean, back then, if I told my investors, if we get to 25 stores, man, it's a success. This is going to be something that we all of our best, wildest dreams came true. And here we are now, at 75 stores and well on our way to over 100. And now I haven't put any restrictions on us. We say we want to do 125, but people, especially those employees and teammates that have been with me since we started this thing, they say, you're not going to stop at 125, from that standpoint. So who knows? We'll keep taking it a day at a time, and then we'll make that determination, when it feels right. I'm having a tremendous amount of fun. My investors are all friends of mine. So, and everybody that I work with, especially the associates and employees that have been with me since day one. I've seen what our business has done for them, how they've been promoted, been able to grow their careers and do things for their family. We have store managers that started with me as a part-time associate, riding a bus to work, and now they're store managers making $60,000, $70,000 a year and buying their first home. And that's tremendously humbling when you think that, that this started as an idea, in my little head, and it's matured into an ongoing concern, obviously with the help and prayers and blood, sweat, and tears of a lot of more people than just myself. But, you just have to bet on yourself. At the end of the day, who can you trust? From that standpoint, there's a Beyonce song. It's called "Me, Myself, and I."
Mhm.
From that standpoint, I know that I would never disappoint myself is one of the lines in that song, and that's true. And so that's how I think about it. I knew I was betting on myself. I had the love and support of my wife, who was right there with me. And my kids knew I was going to be successful as well. When your kids look at you and they tell you to go for it,
Mhm.
um, you know, it was the right decision for us.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah,
and
so what
and
else do you need?
fear, fear is a motivator. People
Mhm.
that tell you they aren't scared are full of you know what.
Mhm.
There is a fear, but it's manageable from that
Mhm.
standpoint. Use that fear to motivate you. Use that fear to inspire you.
Mhm.
Use that fear to kick you in the butt from that standpoint. But it's a fear of failure versus a fear of success. A lot of people are afraid of success as well. And so if you're going to be afraid of something, man, you might as well harness it. And
Mhm.
I got scared when I realized that working in corporate America, my destiny was not my own. And
Mhm.
I think I didn't really quite understand that. I always thought that I was above that.
Mhm.
Here again, I'd done all the right things, gone all the right schools.
Mhm.
My results were impeccable. I didn't have anything to worry about. Nope. And so that's when I channeled that passion to starting our own company. And here we are, like I said, 6 years later. And thank God that I'm sure that inspiration, I like to say, it's all me, but so many others, and obviously being, someone that's has grown up from yay high, believing in God and what He's capable of doing. I know He had a hand in it as well.
Mhm. Beautiful. So when you were ready to get your first store,
Mhm.
how did you put your team together? Did you just go in solo or did you put together a team, and how did you choose that team?
Well, the first store there was 10. It was a group purchase. We bought 10 stores.
Mhm.
And we had the store managers that were working for Pearle. We brought all of them over as store managers for us. And it
Mhm.
was literally just my wife and I with 10 stores.
Mhm.
And so as we grew, we started adding what we call corporate overhead. But we outsourced a lot when we first started. All of our finance and accounting was through an accounting firm based out of Dayton, Ohio. Our payroll company was providing HR services for us, and then my wife took over HR. So obviously, when you're just starting out, you got to watch every nickel from that
Mhm.
standpoint. So we were chef, cook, bottle washer, you name
Mhm.
it. We did it all from that standpoint. But again, I had 10 great store managers. That's one thing that I'm forever thankful for Pearle, that the 10 managers that were working for Pearle corporate, and then when we bought the stores, they took a leap of faith as well and
Mhm.
stayed with us when they could have gone to other Pearle corporate stores. I never will, forget those individuals, and forever indebted to those men and women that believed in Laura Lee and I, and made a decision that they were going to stick with us and see what happened.
Mhm. Yeah, and so far so good.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, yes. So, as you took on those 10 stores, now you had experience in Luxottica, so
Mhm.
you had some systems in place, but as you got into that and started looking at numbers or stats, or how did you start to develop the systems so that everything would be running the same in all your stores?
Again, having worked at LensCrafters, I saw it. I oversaw 1,400 locations when I was at LensCrafters. So I stole shamelessly. You know, why reinvent the wheel? A lot of the things that LensCrafters did well, or Luxottica did well, we repackaged them and put West Point Optical where it said Luxottica. We scratched it out and put West Point Optical. Where it
Mhm.
didn't work well, we created our own from that
Mhm.
standpoint. So one of the things I tell a lot of people who ask about starting your own business,
Mhm.
steal shamelessly. If something is working, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't have the pride of authorship that it's got to be my own. No, if
Mhm.
it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And when you're just two people trying to oversee 10 stores and oversee 25 stores, you don't have time to recreate every system. And so again, I spent 4 years learning at Luxottica. I was paid by Luxottica to learn how to start my own business, ultimately, as it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just stole shamelessly.
Mm-hmm.
We just cut, edit, paste, and instead of the incentive compensation plan that was LensCrafters, it was now the West Point Optical Group
Mm-hmm.
incentive compensation plan, and that's what we've done. Again, there are some things that we did differently. A lot of things about big corporations that I absolutely despise, and our kind of how we built our company and our business. That when it's to our advantage to act like a big company, we do. For example, we provide benefits in healthcare, and a lot of small businesses don't make that investment, but we wanted to have that ability to ensure, especially in this day and age, that our associates are able to, provide healthcare and benefits for their employees and associates. So we have like a big company there, but our core DNA is a scrappy entrepreneurial company from that standpoint, and we try not to put so much bureaucracy and processes and systems in place that it stifles the creativity of our store general managers. We want to always ensure that there is a sense of in entrepreneurship, thinking on your feet, being creative. Where it matters most, labor, big expense items, we got systems and processes. Where it's gray area, where there's an opportunity for managers to be creative, we let them be creative. And I think that's why we've been successful. In a lot of large corporations, every single thing is regulated, regimented. And we try, I would say probably about 75% of what we do is regimented and regulated. And then there's about a 25% that's, hey, seat of your pants. Let's go. Let's get it. We're a scrappy company. We're growing. We're entrepreneurial. Hey, that's a great idea. We've had countless examples where one of my regional directors or a store manager will come up with a great idea, and we'll flip on a dime, flip the switch, turn on a dime. I mean, it's implement that across 75 stores or 60, however many stores we had at that time. That never happens in a large corporation. I shouldn't say never, rarely happens in a large corporation. And so I always want to maintain that sense of dexterity, nimbleness, quickness about our company, no matter how big we get, because that keeps it fun. And I think that keeps it fun for the associates. It makes them feel like owners and feel like they have skin in the game.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you can change so quickly. 'Cause that is true. Some big companies, they're just like dinosaurs. They just move real slow, and it's hard to get anything done. But, with the way you're managing, you can actually change things that quickly. So that is wonderful. And when you go into these new stores, so you're rolling up sometimes one, sometimes more at a
Mhm.
time. How do you get the buy-in with people? I kind of know some of that because I've been part of this, but how do you get people's buy-in?
When we do things there's a system of how we assimilate a new store or stores into our corporate or work family. We start with an assimilation meeting where we sit down with all of the employees. Pre-COVID, they were all, and I should say, in going to COVID, the majority of them were in person. We go to a banquet hall or a hotel and have a meeting space, and we bring all the employees in, and we give a presentation on who we are as West Point Optical Group. And you saw that presentation. We had to do ours by Skype, Zoom,
Mhm.
but we think it's important for them to see me, for them to understand who we are as a company, because they have choices. Just because we're buying the business doesn't mean that those employees have to stay with us from that standpoint. And we do a fair amount of due diligence. We do some secret shops. We formulate opinions on some of the employees that we met, and having done this long as we have, we know what kind of employees and associates are going to thrive in our environment versus those that are going to struggle. And so after the assimilation meeting, we send offer letters to those employees that we want to come join our team. We kid, and our kind of HR mantra is we want to be the employer of choice for the people we choose
Mhm.
from that standpoint. And so we are very, I think, what's the word I want to look for? Determined when it comes to ensuring that the men and women that work for us want to work for us, want to be what we would consider contributing members of a growing family from that standpoint. We're not looking for people that are, are just coming in and punching a clock and going home. We're looking for people that want to do better, that want more, that want to grow their careers from that standpoint. And then there's a transition process that takes place. We bring in different systems sometimes. And the majority of the time it's worked fabulously well and people adopt and change to our systems. And there have been those times where they don't. And then we call it slow to hire, quick to fire. Because if it's not working, and given that these are all 500,000 to $1 million plus businesses, you have to have the courage to make tough decisions early on. If someone's struggling, if someone's not enjoying it, don't prolong it. We need to, help them find their joy. And that's how we like to think about it. We don't consider it we're terminating them from our employment. We're liberating them to go find what they love to do, or what they're going to be successful and what they're going to be happy doing. It's got to suck to wake up and hate what you're doing. And some people will continue to do it because of that fear. They don't want to go find their joy, their passion. We help them. We help liberate them so they can go find that joy and passion, because to be successful in our company, our organization, you got to love it, or you got to have a strong like for what you're doing, or you're not going to be successful.
So true. So now that you have 75 Pearle Vision stores, tell people, why should we shop at Pearle Vision as opposed to all the other opticals? Because there's an optical on every corner, it seems like now.
Yes, there is. Stanley Pearle started this right in Savannah, Georgia, some 60 odd plus years ago, right? So retail optical as we know it today started with Pearle Vision. And so when you think about that, Dr. Pearle and, what he built, and how it matured into Pearle Vision, there's a lot of pride that we as Pearle, operators take in the fact that it started with Dr. Pearle and Pearle Vision. And Pearle cares about your eyes more than anybody else. A lot of retail optical chains are really about just selling glasses and selling contact lenses. It's about the materials. At Pearle Vision, and specifically at West Point Optical and Family First Vision Care locations, we care about your overall eye health. We call vision care solutions. We want to be the premier provider of vision care solutions in the communities in which we operate and serve. So we're not going to just rush you through, an eye exam where we're really just trying to do a refraction and write the prescription so we can sell you a pair of glasses. We're trying to build a relationship by creating a relationship between you and that optometrist that transcend that transaction. We want you to keep coming back because you know that that doctor cares about your overall eye health. And once we have, ensured and convinced you that we care about your eye health, your vision, then we'll sell you a pair of glasses. We'll sell you a pair of contacts. But we like the best of both worlds. Best in class, optometric care, professional services, as well as the best assortment of glasses, lenses, and frames, rival any other retailer that's out there. Not a lot of companies do both well. You have some private practice optometrists that do both well, but they're very hard to find. A lot of private practice guys have a very limited assortment in their dispensary, less than 50 to 100 frames for you to choose from, very limited assortment of the lenses. But we offer, again, the best of both worlds at Pearle. We care about your eye health, and we can give you the best glasses and contacts that you can find in the marketplace.
All right. Thank you so much. So just to switch gears here, what gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
I'm a husband and a father. And as much as I love what I do professionally, and I do love it, my true passion lies with my kids and my wife. I am at my happiest when I'm watching My 11-year-old play sports. When I'm watching my oldest son, Jalen, was on the reality show. I don't know if you guys saw him, but yeah, he was on a reality show from that standpoint, Love Island in Las Vegas on the last season 2, and that was tremendously fulfilling for me to see him pursuing a dream of his. My daughter Jasmine is getting married in October. My daughter Jordan is in her 4th year of medical school, and she's going to be an anesthesiologist. My son Jared played football at UPenn, is at the Wharton School, and he's graduating and going to be working at McKinsey when he graduates in May. And that's what tickles my fancy. My daughter Michaela is going to be a nurse, and she's a junior. And my sons Hayden and Braden, in our blended family, they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And that's what gives me the most joy when you think about it from that perspective. And those moments are precious. And I'll share the listening audience that the day after Thanksgiving, I contracted COVID. And it was a scary proposition. Thank God, it was a very mild case, and we finished quarantining, but it puts everything in perspective. I mean, and with COVID, there are no answers, right? And everything in my life has been about, I know what to do, I can go find the answers, but it kind of put it all in perspective. And I knew that I was passionate about my family and my kids. And my relationship with my wife, Laura Lee, and it just has put it into perspective from that standpoint. So that's my passion. That's my joy. I still work out, 57, and I still think I can play, I can, make somebody's football team where I train from that standpoint. But those are the things that give me joy. We travel when, pre-COVID, we love to take vacations, and July of next year, assuming COVID is at bay, we're going on a safari to Africa. And those are the type of things that give me joy. It's not necessarily material possessions. We're homebodies. We don't go out a lot. Those are the things that give me joy.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and sharing your stories and your wisdom. I so appreciate it.
It was my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. And I tell everybody, and I'll conclude with this. Anything is possible. My company, my success is easily, doable if it starts with that belief in yourself, having the courage to fail, because you're gonna get knocked down. Trust me, believe me. You get hit in the face with a 2x4 more than once, but it's not getting knocked down. It's your ability to get back up time and time again and answer the bell. It's what's going to determine your ultimate success. So thank you so much for having me. I look forward to meeting you in person in 2 weeks when I'm down in Atlanta. And so we'll get a chance to meet in person. But again, thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast.
Yes, thank you for coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon, Bill.
Absolutely. Thank you.